new system, the digestive system, and after that we will be covering the genito and urinary systems, and with that it will finish your course. So today and the next lecture I will be delivering on the digestive system, and then we will start the next system. So let's start today's topic, which is the digestive system of the humans. So just have an so we are concerned with the anatomy of the human digestive system. So there are general terms which you will come across while studying the gastrointestinal system. The digestive is also called as gastrointestinal. That means gastra means stomach, intestinal means intestine, small and large intestines. So the small and large intestines along with the gastra, that is stomach, are the main contributing organs which form the digestive tract. But the whole of the digestive tract is a extension of that gastrointestinal tract. So that I will teach you in the coming slides. So there is one term called as nutrition. That means the process of taking in and using the food, taking nutrition. Okay, so nutrition is the process of taking and using the food, while nutrients are the substance which are present in food and which are used as energy sources to run the system of our body. And digestive system includes the organs and the glands in the body that are responsible for digestion. And digestion is the process of breakdown of food to smaller molecules so that they can be easily absorbed. So now when we read the digestive system, there are two types of digestive systems, incomplete and complete. But in humans, we do have the complete digestive system. Incomplete digestive system is among the invertebrates, and there is only a single opening for the ingestion of food, while the complete digestive system is common among various nematodes, annelids, mollusks, echinoderms, and vertebrates. You must have read all these in your 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th classes. And among we are the vertebrates, and we do have a complete digestive system, have a digestive tube with two openings. If there is only a single opening, that is incomplete, and that is among invertebrates. But if there are two openings, one for ingestion, one for out, that is one mouth and one anus, that is called as the complete digestive system. And we do have this complete digestive system as humans. So now coming on to the main thing, the human digestive system after the introductory part. So the human digestive tract is a long, coiled, muscular tube that stretches from the mouth to the anus. So it has a beginning from the mouth, ending at the anus, and in between the two openings it is a very long, it is coiled and a muscular tube. Its walls are made up of muscles which are lined by the mucosa or the epithelial linings inside and outside of that muscular tube muscles. So from mouth to the anus, the human food tube is 9 meters long. So whole of the digestive tract, and from if we consider from mouth to the anus, the length is 9 meters long. So you can imagine such a big length of a tube is being accommodated in our trunk. So you can imagine how cold it can be. So just have a look. Opening the mouth is here, and here is the part of oral cavity, some part of the pharynx, oropharynx, and then it continue as the laryngopharynx, and then it continues as the esophagus, and then into the stomach, and then into the small intestine, and then large intestine, like this. And here is the anal opening. So whole length is 9 meters. So you can see how this specifically the small intestine has been so much highly coiled so that its larger length can be accommodated in our abdominal part. So These are the specialized organs where digestion takes place. So, the digestion takes place from the mouth itself, and it is then from the mouth it comes to the pharynx, then esophagus, then stomach, then small intestine, then large intestine, and waste comes out of the anus. So, apart from the main organs, which we have already seen as these are the specific and specialized regions, but the digestion in mouth and in small and large intestine, it is being helped by various juices, and these juices and enzymes are contributed by the adjacent or accessory organs of digestive system. They are not a direct part of the tube, so that the food does not go into those accessory organs, but those accessory organs secrete their secretions, the enzymatic secretions and juices, which are being poured into the main digestive tract, the main tube, and here they help in the chemical digestion of the food. So there are some accessory organs or glands which are called as the accessory organs. So assisting organs. So in the mouth, oral cavity, pharynx, we do have tongue also, and in the vicinity of the oral cavity there are three glands. The parotid gland has this location, the sublingual gland has under the tongue location, and submandibular gland has the location. You can just feel your submandibular gland at the level of the angle of the mandible itself. So there are three glands which are called as salivary glands, and they pour their secretion via ducts into the oral cavity, so that in the oral cavity the food is being mechanically broken down because of the chewing action and grinding action of the teeth and tongue against the palate, and also there is secretion of some secretions from these glands which help in the starting the chemical digestion of the food itself here at the oral cavity itself. And then the stomach and intestine, here you can see this is the liver, which lies under the right dome of the diaphragm and some left dome of the diaphragm as well. So diaphragm is the demarcating line from which diaphragm is the demarcating muscle which separates from the thorax from the abdominal cavity, and here is the location of the liver, which is situated under the diaphragm, specifically on the right hypochondrium and epigastric regions. And you can see here is the stomach, and here is the duodenal part of the small intestine. So in the C or curvature of the duodenum, there lies a gland called as the pancreatic gland or the pancreas itself, and there is another, the bile duct, which is connected with the gallbladder, which lies under the surface of the liver itself, and here is the liver. So liver, gallbladder and pancreas, along with the salivary glands in the vicinity of the oral cavity, these all contribute in the assisting organs of digestion, as they are not the main parts of the digestive tube, but they help in the digestion process because of the secretions of for their chemical digestion, and their secretions are the juices and the enzymes which help in digestion. So these are the accessory organs of the digestion: the pancreas, gallbladder, liver, and the salivary glands, the three salivary glands: parotid, sublingual, submandibular, and these are named according to their location, as their name suggests. Sublingual under the lingua, under the tongue; submandibular under the mandibular; and parotid just in front of the tragus of the ear. So, where digestion takes place with assisting organs. Okay, so let us just have a look. How does this digestive process takes place, and then we will go into the detail. Okay, so the food processing begins in the mouth. The bite food, the food which we take, the food bites, they are being chewed into the mouth and being mechanically broken down into smaller pieces with the help of teeth and hard palate and tongue. This is being chewed and grinded and then and mixed with the saliva. Saliva comes from the salivary glands, and then this bit food is then swallowed and is moved through the pharynx into the esophagus, and then the food is being mechanically and enzymatically digested in the stomach. So in the stomach, mechanical means there is churning, mixing, breaking down of the particles. That is the mechanical mixing. And enzymatic means in the secretions there are certain enzymes which are actually activated proteins which help in smaller breakdown of the bigger food particles, and with the help of these enzymes the food is broken down into very smaller chemicals which can be then absorbed by the intestines. So these enzymes help in breakdown of the food to such a molecular level so that it can be absorbed by the intestines, and then the liver secretes the bile into the small intestine. Pancreas also secretes its digestive enzymes in juice. So, the most enzymatic digestion takes place in the small intestine. But before that, we have already seen that in the stomach also there is some enzymatic digestion and more of chemical churning, more of mechanical churning, mechanical digestion. Similarly, in the mouth, more of mechanical digestion, but there is also salivary enzymes action also there. So a little bit of chemical digestion also. So at the level of mouth, then at the level of stomach, and then we reach at the level of small intestine. It is at the small intestinal level that main assisting organs, the pancreas and liver, through its gallbladder, and they secrete via the bile duct various juices and enzymes and the bile which help in the enzymatic and chemical digestion in the small intestine. The nutrients are then digested as they move into the digestive tract because they have been very finely digested by the enzymes, and now the food molecules are so small that they can be absorbed. The nutrients can be absorbed via the digestive tract lining, and some nerves and hormones regulate the process of digestion. It is under the effect of some nervous stimulation and hormonal stimulation so that the digestion process is being regulated. The digestive juices are being secreted in appropriate amount at appropriate situation, like whenever there is food. Absorption takes place mainly through the villi of the small intestine. So villi are the main structures which are increasing the surface area of the cells many folds, and it is because of the presence of villi the absorption of food mainly takes place. And the large intestine then eliminates waste, leading to this waste to the opening for the elimination and up to the anus. So large intestine also have some absorptive function, like some salts and water are being absorbed in the large intestine, but most of the matter which reaches the large intestine is actually has been digested and absorbed. So it is mainly the waste which are passing through the large intestine to be eliminated via the external opening, the anus or anal canal. So there are two phases of digestion. One is the mechanical phase and one is the chemical phase. The mechanical phase involves the breaking up of food into small pieces, pushing down the food down the food tube and mixing it with the, so mixing, churning, pushing, chewing, grinding, all these are included in the mechanical phase. While in the chemical phase, it involves the further breaking up of the larger molecules of the food into smaller molecules by the action of digestive enzymes. And after it is being broken down into very smaller molecules, now the food molecules are ready for absorption. So how the digestion is done? So in the mechanical phase of digestion in the mouth, so let us discuss one by one now. Let us start with the mouth, that there is mechanical digestion In the mouth, which starts in the mouth or oral cavity, where we do have four kinds of teeth which tear the food into pieces. So this is a mechanical process which is tearing the food into very smaller particles. So we have four kinds of teeth. The front ones are the incisors, the sharp ones are the canines, and then the grinding teeth are the molars and premolars, which are specialized for crushing and grinding. And these are pointed, used for tearing, and these are thin-edged for cutting food. So canines are mainly present in the carnivorous animals. We do have one canine on the right, on the left upper jaw, and similarly the two canines in the lower jaw also. But our canines are not specified for that purpose. It is of little help, like in the tearing. Yeah, it is of helpful, but carnivores use more canines and they have lot of canines. We do usually cut the food, and we crush and grind the food with the help of our molars and premolars. And you can just have these front one are the have a look, incisors, and this one is a canine, and these are the premolars and these are the molars. So in the upper jaw and the lower jaw, this is the orientation and the classification of the teeth according to their function and their external appearance. And this is in an adult, but in babies they are having milk teeth, they are having temporary teeth in the initial years. They do have only 20 teeth, while in an adult we do have 32 teeth. So this is the formula for the temporary dental set of man. So in the upper jaw, in the lower jaw, and total number. So in the upper jaw, 2 on the right, 2 on the left. Lower jaw, 2 on the right, 2 on the left. And similarly, so 8 total incisors. Similarly, the canines, 4 total. Premolars, the infants or the temporary dental set does not have premolars. And in the molars, they do have only 8 molars, 2 on each side. But in adults, there are 3 on each side. So in the temporary set of the teeth, in the milk teeth or the temporary dental set, there are 20 teeth only. While now it comes to the permanent dental set of men, and here the incisors is same, 18 number, canine are 4, 18 number, but we do have premolars, 8 premolars, and we do have 4 more molars than the temporary set. So a total of 32 teeth are there in an adult dental set. So the chemical digestion in the we have already seen that the mechanical digestion has been the churning, grinding, crushing, and tearing the food into smaller bites and pushing. Now coming on to the chemical digestion in the mouth. Our mouth has salivary glands that secrete saliva, and this saliva contains an enzyme called salivary amylase. So the salivary glands, which are secreting the saliva or the salivary juice, they have an enzyme known as salivary amylase, and amylases are helpful in the digestion of carbohydrates. So this salivary amylase and the enzyme called maltase, so they enables the chemical digestion of the mouth to occur, especially of the carbohydrates. So the carbohydrate part digestion starts right from the mouth itself with the help of salivary amylase and maltase enzyme secreted by the salivary glands. So also there is a little bit of chemical digestion in the mouth itself. It starts in the mouth itself apart from the mechanical digestion. So if you do a dissection over this area, you can see this is the cut end of the mandible. This we can see the tongue, and under the tongue here is the location of sublingual gland, and you can see the surface projection of the sublingual gland in yourself only. When you open the oral cavity, look into a mirror, just lift off your tip of the tongue and you can find the sublingual glands in the floor of the mouth. And then there is some mandibular gland under the mandible. Here is the location, and you can just feel with your finger the submandibular gland. You can feel very easily under the mandible. uh, just adjacent and medial to the angle of the mandible. And here, just in front of the auricle, in front of the tragus, there is a parotid gland, and this is the duct of the parotid gland. And all the three ducts of these glands, they open into the oral cavity, secreting the salivary saliva, which have the enzymes, amylase and maltase, and also uh, there occur the chemical digestion of the food starts from here because of the presence of these glands. So these are the accessory or assisting glands in the digestion process. So in the mouth, the carbohydrates like starch, amylum or amylose, they are being acted by the salivary amylase enzyme, which is also called as ptyalin, and is broken down into maltose. Similarly, maltose is being broken down by the help of maltase enzyme into glucose, which is the simplest sugar, simple sugar. So that is how the carbohydrate chemical digestion starts taking place in the mouth itself. Now, after the mouth, the tongue also helps in the mechanical digestion of food because it helps to pushing and mixing of the food, while the back part of it secretes mucus, making swallowing easier, less friction because of the food is being mixed with the mucus and the saliva produced by the salivary glands, and mucus produced by the salivary glands as well as the tongue mucosal glands. So the food gets it becomes less sticky and it can be easily propelled down the pharynx and the esophagus. After the food is being chemically and mechanically acted upon at the level of mouth, then there comes the pharynx and the esophagus, which conduct food to the stomach. And after being chewed, the food is swallowed through the pharynx, extending up to the esophagus. So, pharynx and esophagus mainly act as the passages, and a little bit of the glandular secretions in the lower part of the esophagus get mixed with this food, the esophageal glands. So you can see how the pharynx and esophagus, they have a part in the passage, so they have the mechanical phase. So they are actually helping in the mechanical digestion of the food, and so they help it by propelling the bolus of the food with the help of a process called as peristalsis. So as the peristalsis continue, the food of the bolus is being propelled down into the tube. So there is a wave of peristalsis which is pushing this bolus of the food, and you can see there is constriction above and dilatation below this bolus of the food, so that it gets a passage, and above it does not get a passage. So it is getting propelled in the direction in which the wave of peristalsis wants it to push. So you can see, so this has regained its lumen, and here is the narrow part and here is the dilated part. So that is how along the wave of the peristalsis this bolus of the food is being pushed down. So the pharynx or throat is the hallway of food used for both digestive and respiratory system. And you already know that the pharynx had digestive as well as respiratory system. It acts as a passage for both. Esophagus is the canal that connects the pharynx to the stomach. And epiglottis is the tissue that closes the opening of the airway during swallowing, because epiglottis is the cartilage and it does not allow the food to be thrown into our larynx and respiratory passage. So protect us, our larynx and respiratory processes, while the food is being pushed during downwards in the process of swallowing. So during the swallowing, the airway does not get and enter into the larynx itself. And the peristalsis is the process, is a wave which pushes soft mass of chewed food, that is called as the bolus of the food, and mixes it with digestive juices in the stomach and small intestine. So it is because of the help of the peristalsis, which begins in the lower part of the pharynx and esophagus and continues down into the stomachs, intestine, and up to the anal canal, so that the food is being pushed from its beginning to the end point till anus as per the requirement. And antiperistalsis is the process when the wave occurs in an opposite direction, that is towards the oral cavity. That is a pathological condition which is not normal, not physiological, and it may result in vomiting, which prevents body from harmful substances that are ingested. So if we ingest something which is harmful for the body, which have some chemicals, or which have some infective bacteria, so that our digestive system does not accept it, in that situation we get a gastric upset. And sometimes all of us, we must have encountered, we must have experienced the vomiting. So vomiting occurs because of the antiperistalsis, and it is a defensive mechanism of the body to get rid of the ingested harmful substances. But it's also very annoying also. The vomiting is also annoying, and gastric upset is also very annoying. So for today, this is the part till the part of esophagus. In the next, I will discuss the stomach and the intestines along with the assisting organs, so that we will be completing the whole lecture. Thank you, students, and keep reading. Thank you.